Homelessness has no look. This brother who I'm about to interview, Mr. Allen, he initially saw me on YouTube interviewing other homeless people and just some of the things that I do, in the community for the homeless. I definitely had a pleasure interviewing him. I hope you guys enjoy. My man. What's up, brother?
How you doing, man? How you doing?
So we finally sat down and, discuss, what I mean?
Yeah.
So, man, tell the people a little bit of who you are.
I am Jamal Allen, educator, living here in New York. And I've been around the world, China, a lot of different places, but educator just to keep it brief.
Yeah. So this is my man. And, we met because he saw one of my videos on social media, on YouTube.
Yep.
On YouTube, right?
Yep. YouTube.
You know what I'm saying?
One of the YouTube videos.
So, I'm just kind of curious to know about your story. You was telling me you was once in a shelter.
Right.
Tell me about that.
So I'll say back in 2015, I was in a homeless shelter, the Salvation Army. And while I was there, I did feel a little bit of uneasiness. I felt crazy. I felt odd. I felt strange. I felt like I wasn't supposed to be here. How did I get to the point where I could officially say that I'm homeless? And, not necessarily knowing if you have anywhere to turn, anybody can help you, because a lot of times there are people around you, but you just may not be able to stay with them. A lot of times people can't conceptualize homelessness because they're thinking, but people, right? You know somebody, you have family members, so why aren't you staying with them? And sometimes it's just not like that. A lot of times it's not like that. So, but the one thing that I want to offer is while I was there, it was so good for me to focus on my mentality.
Beautiful, because I hear the stories of people doing crack in the shelters, people being raped in the shelters, things being stolen in the shelters. I've heard homeless people say they feel more safe on the streets than in the shelters.
I can see that. A lot of sometimes shelters kind of give you that the administrative feel of a prison, where things are kind of slow and laxed, and it's come back later, and somebody may have an attitude with you. You might not have a way to necessarily keep up with stuff that's inside of the shelter, and you don't have a lot of assistance, but you have to do all that yourself. But those type of things can take place. But if you focus and you're there as a transition and not allow yourself to get settled, that's the biggest part that I want to leave for anybody that's been homeless or that is homeless. You gotta stay with the mind frame that you're trying to get out of there, that you're transitioning through it, not that you're there just to get situated and stay.
What led to you being homeless? You know what I'm saying? I always hear that you're a paycheck away from being homeless. You know what I'm saying? What led to your homelessness?
For me, I traveled the world in 2012. I started teaching in China. I was there for a year, and then I taught in Dominican Republic, and I taught in Haiti and the Bahamas, and I spent all of my money doing that. So I went back to Alabama, and I stayed with my biological mother because she asked me to. She said, I'll help you. You can come stay with me. The relationship was very toxic. It was very abusive. And to be honest, I had nowhere to go. So I contacted a church friend, and I ended up being able to stay with her, but she lived about 35 miles from where I had to work. So there was no way that she could take me to work and back home every single day. So it was a Salvation Army next door, and because I needed somewhere to sleep, I just went there and I got a bed. That was my option. I didn't have anywhere else to go.
And this was in Alabama, right?
This was in Alabama, yeah, Alabama. I was staying with an abusive parent, and I just couldn't stay there anymore for my well-being. And so I went to a church member's house, and because she lived so far, I just couldn't put her through that, taking me 35 miles every day.
So when you was inside of this shelter, what were some of the things you was thinking?
I'm ready to get out of here. I don't want to be here long. How can I get out of here the fastest? How can I make this stay better and best for me? And it's different at every shelter. So for mine, you got a bed every night if you had a job, or you had more opportunities if you had a job. There were a lot of men who just don't have a job, so they had to come sign up every single day for a bed, every single day. But me, because I actually had a job I was going to every day, I had a bed for me every single day. So that helped my mentality, that helped me stay on top of things. And I also had a good friend that I was speaking to in the process. Another thing that happened too is at the time I was growing my hair out and it was really bushy, and sometimes when you want a new perspective, you just cut everything off and it'll give you a whole new outlook. So that was one of the things I did. My hair had been growing for 3 years, and while I was in the shelter, I cut it off, because the one thing that I wanted to do was to mentally separate myself from everybody else, because the shelter that I was in, everybody just kind of gave up and they didn't care. They didn't care what they looked like, their appearance, what they were doing. They had given up. So that's the big thing that I say, is that when you're in those situations, you want to stay mentally stable and try to have people to keep you up, because that'll help you get out faster, because you'll stay positive and you'll actually lean on your faith and get out of there faster.
My man just shared some very in-depth information, very personal information. You know what I'm saying? So my last question to you, sir, how long was you in a shelter, and what advice can you give someone that's currently in a shelter?
I was in a shelter for about 2.5 months, and the advice that I would give anybody that's in a shelter or that's homeless now is that you have to want to get out of that situation. If you want to get out of that situation, things will open up, opportunities will come your way for you to be able to see. But you need to do the basics. You have to fill out the paperwork to get things moving. You need to get up every day and search for a job if you don't have one while you're in the shelter, because those are the things that'll help improve your well-being, because you have money to put in your pocket. So at least you can buy toiletries, at least you can buy yourself some lunch, at least you can buy yourself a shirt. So you have to do things to keep yourself up and to make sure that you understand it's just temporary. For those in a shelter, for those who are actually homeless, living in tents and living on the streets, it's no different. You have to have something on the inside that says, I am not this situation and I want more.